I have this Facebook group for men where I hold regular webinars, since the last one being on common questions that divorcing men have during their divorce. Stuff like what's going to happen to their kids? How long is this bullshit going to last? Do they date? Will it help if they date? Do they move out? Does the female ever move out? Basically, a crap load of questions. This slide, it has the majority of the questions that we're going to be addressing. I'll show you that slide later on in the video, but I'll also be adding chapters to the recording. So that way you could fast forward to the parts that don't interest you, or from the parts that don't interest you to the parts that do interest you. This is an overwhelmingly audio video. Audio, video, video, audio. It's overwhelmingly one that you could listen to. So there's not much to see. And for purposes of anonymity, the guys on this webinar, their questions were heavily edited. Their voices were changed and names were taken out. It's fair to say that this video has been heavily edited. But then again, so have my other ones. To those new to my channel, my name is Rene Garcia, and I'm a divorce coach for men. Oh yeah, you see that there? When that hits 0, that's when the recording of the webinar officially begins. And full transparency, this background, I'm not really in the tropics. I have a green wall behind me, but I am mentally. If you're going through a divorce, you need an expert. One that focuses on your recovery, one that's going to spare you from making some horrible, expensive decisions during your divorce. Make a free appointment with me. I have so many guys saying that they wish they would have called sooner. I could have spared them thousands. Now, I commit to you that even in our first one-on-one, that you're going to come out with a better understanding of your divorce, a lot of clarity and optimism, and more than you've had since this crap started. That's my commitment to you. And starting today, I'm proud to announce our subscription model to the coaching program, thereby making it highly affordable. So make the one-on-one and join our Facebook group. It's one of the fastest growing men's divorce support group on Facebook. The link to both are in the comment section underneath. Now, let's start revving that engine. There's going to be a 15-slide discussion on common questions that men have regarding divorce, because let's face it, if you're here or in this group, chances are that you weren't prepared. But I think this talk's going to get you better prepared for what's to come, because as a coach, this is what I do. It's my forte. It's my specialty. And I try to make sure that in all this BS that it pays off. Is you're neither blindsided nor do you allow her to set the narrative for the divorce. And hopefully by the end of this approximately 1 hour video, you're going to feel empowered and take action. Point is that you need a coach. You may not know it, but you do need an expert here. Now, divorce is the third most stressful time that an adult can undergo. And death of a child, comes in second. And the most stressful time is the passing of a long-term companion as we get older. Now, that's a stress that I hope 30 to 40 years from now that we all have. This talk is important because my professional opinion, relationship coaches, they have it all wrong. They're relationship coaches, not fucking divorce and recovery coaches. They say to focus on yourself without providing much guidance, either because, well, they'll say to focus on a brain-dead marriage or to focus on yourself for a new relationship, but they're not very proactive at addressing your immediate problems, and they don't prepare you for potential pitfalls. They don't address that void and emptiness that you're feeling. They don't give you a sense of direction. You know more about what you're going through. You may not know why, but you know more about why you're going through than many of them do. And I wonder just how many of them have studied the divorce process, or much less how many of them are even divorced. What you need is the clairvoyance of a predictable outcome, and I'm not so sure many of them have that. And so that's the goal here. The goal here is to give you a sense of direction. That's my passion, and this is why I focus on this, because many of us, we get screwed in the process, because divorce for men, it kills. It literally kills. And that's what I want you to be prepared for, to know what to expect, because preparation is going to be key for both mind and your fiscal reasons. So here's some common questions that are going to be addressed. When do you know it's over? Moving out. There's a lot of myths around that. Must-dos for mental hygiene, common mistakes men make. Must-dos to protect yourself, like beginning a game plan. When to start dating. Will it help when you start dating? Does it help with dating? Performance anxiety, the erectile dysfunction. How about your kids? What will your relationship look like with your kids? Co-parenting in blended families. Do you tell your kids that you're dating, or do you keep them out of the loop? As few as others, such as how long will this bullshit last? How long are you until you start feeling a sense of normalcy? And again, the average time that it takes that's gonna for you to feel better. And can you do anything about it? This slide represents how you're going to feel during the divorce. It's a combination of a prostate exam and a castration, both done at the same time. You're going to have a shitload of emotions, from trying to get laid more often to wanting a tattoo or a motorcycle, or just wanting to be left alone to feeling lonely, both at the same time. It's all over the place. And everyone talks about the 5 stages of grief, the Kubler-Ross model, and as it's called, and denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. But they don't tell you is that this model is from a book published in 1969 called Death and Dying. So it's not meant to talk about grief in general. It's more to talk about death and coping with death when you're about to die. So, but we just want to interpret it that way. You need to know that whatever you're feeling, it's normal. You're going to feel a shitload of emotions, from anger, fear, denial, back to anger, to feeling sorry for her, to you feeling sorry for yourself, to feeling sorry for your kids, her and yourself at the same time, all of the above. My point is that any emotion that you're going through is going to be normal, and you don't have to fit into one of those 5 phases listed above. You fit your life the way you need to. Next slide. When do you know it's over? Well, it's no secret that 69 to 90% of the women, that they want the divorce. They're the ones that request it. And that's a number that when I read it and did the research, I just did not believe until I went out and thought about it. And it turns out that, yeah, it's true. The women that I did date, I'd have to agree. The average female, they've been contemplating divorce for about 2 years before they tell the husband. I mean, they'll tell everybody. They'll tell their best friend. They'll tell anybody that would listen to them, including their gynecologist for obvious reasons. And if you're a stepdad, they'll even tell their own children. They'll tell everybody but you. You're the last to know. So when they tell you, they're fucking relieved. And why do you think that she moved on so quickly and you haven't? Because she already mourned the marriage. She thought and fantasized about it. And by the time that they told you, they just went out. You're now an obstacle. And that's why you're screwed, because you're left in the dark wondering why she's taking it so easy and partying so much. So if you're trying to get her back, know that her mind is most likely already made up. She's made up for it for the past 2 years. And then she tells you she's pretty much committed to go through with this. And you have a very difficult road ahead of you if you're trying to get back with her. But when do you know it's over? For the minute she tells you that she wants a divorce. That's when you know it's over. That's when the gig is up. And that's when you have to start taking care of yourself, like it or not. You're going to have to look after your own best interest, not hers, because I assure you that she's not thinking about what's in your best interest when she's hiring an attorney for her representation. How about moving out? Conventional wisdom says that the guy moves out, but that's not necessarily the case. Let me ask you guys, are you guys living together, or you guys moved out? Any volunteers?
And I stayed in the townhouse.
That's what my data shows. Typically, it's the female that moves out. And it's actually about 52% of the time that the female, that they leave. And don't get suckered into thinking that it's the guy and it's the chivalry thing to do, to leave. It's not. There's some consequences if you do move, like you're still having to pay for your share of the bills of the house if you move out, and even potentially losing the house, because if you move out and she stays, possession is key. But know that if you haven't moved out between the 0 to 6 month mark, so 6 months to 12 months, chances are that you're not going to be moving out from the 6 months to 12. It's usually 0 to 6 months, or it goes over a year. I've yet to have a client move in between the 6 months to a 12 months mark. It's just because they're fighting for the house. They're fighting for a lot of things. The divorce goes long. So just go in knowing that the 6 months mark is going to probably be another 6 months till you move out. Self-care must-dos is don't panic. Remain stoic. Make a doctor's appointment, because depression is rampant here. In fact, I ask my clients when they made their last doctor's appointment, their last physical, because if they haven't, I'll ask them to do one. Several reasons. Antidepressants, they take weeks to kick in, and you need to be prepared. I also ask them to check their testosterone level, because with all the stress, all the crap that you're going through, chances are that your testosterone levels, that they've dropped about 40%. This is an estimation, but about 40% of the guys that I coach, they're on some kind of testosterone replacement therapy. Join a community of like-minded men like this group, and watch my channel, because people who watch these videos, the data shows that it's better, it's more helpful than therapy alone. So make sure that you go to the channel, sign up, do the thing that you need to do. But be careful. Don't fall into my ex was a narcissist kind of thing. Inevitably, videos are going to come up there. The algorithm loves narcissist videos. Everybody wants to prove their ex is a narcissist. So when a guy tells me during a one-on-one that their ex is a narcissist, they may say that, but I hear something else. I hear, I'm fucking angry and bitter because of her. That's what I hear. That's not your end game. Your end game needs to be to move forward, not to look back and and get at her. Your job is not to diagnose her, definitely not my job. Your end game, it needs to be learning about yourself, taking care about yourself, focusing on yourself. Remember that when we started? Make an appointment with a therapist and talk to a fucking expert. Seriously. Seriously. This should be the standard of care in a divorce. Talk to an expert. Me. So what are some common mistakes that men make during a divorce? Or what are some common mistakes that you could make to be careful to watch out for? Is the first one I would say is underestimated your ex. They may be leaving you. They may be the ones doing all the fucked up shit, but yet for some reason, they don't see it that way. When it comes to your wife saying that she wants an amicable divorce, she really means amicable in her terms. I can't tell you how badly I underestimated both of my divorces. The first one, she had a full game plan on me. Boom, highly strategic. The other one, she just made me waste money on an attorney, but it still sucked regardless, even though that they're the ones leaving. For some reason, they're the ones letting their emotions of anger towards you get in the way. And I'm not kidding. Even if they don't like your dog, Butch, even if they don't like him, they'll want him just because you love him. Point is, start having a plan. Next, letting her establish custody. Start by saying no to her. She can't establish custody. They'll ask for 100%, but you'll be asking for 50%. That's usually the way it is when it comes to kids. They want 100, you get 50. The minute that she says she wants a divorce, set the tone. If your kids work home from school, get to school just before they're out and pick them up from school. If she usually picks them up, get there early to pick them up so that you get them before she gets them, and then send her a text, hey, I got the kids. But the point is that you got to set the tone here. We men have this notion that we need approval to see our kids. We even call it father's rights, but fuck that. Fuck father's rights. I say children's rights. Children's rights to have a dad. Next one is staying in limbo or in denial. I see a lot of guys refusing to thrive after this. They've missed their ex so much, and they live in their own shell of the men that they used to be because they missed their ex. Or even years down the road, they grow and they become angry. That was my biggest fear. When I was going through the divorce, I was scared. I was scared shitless. And I tell you what, that fear put me in shape. That fear got me through it because I didn't want to be the guy years from now saying, I miss my wife. I miss her so much. And so I got my shit together and just moved forward. I know it's easier said than done, but it has to be done. Next is getting into a new relationship too soon. I'm all about dating. I'm all about online dating. I'm all about meeting different girls. Trust me, I've had my good times doing it, but don't get into a relationship too soon. There's a reason why 63% of second marriages fail. That's because guys don't wait and to get into a relationship. And women, they're notorious. They're notorious for asking, what are you looking for, Rene? I mean, that's the beginning of their conversation. You might as well say, how about foreplay first? So don't fall for that trap. Just let them know, look, let's get to know each other, and then we could decide from there. You know, that's one of the biggest reasons why the attrition in men's divorce coaching, because they have success in dating and then they meet like a couple of girls and boom, right away. It's my philosophy that you need to give it some time and date for a while, at least for 2 years. Now, as for the next one is hiring the wrong divorce attorney. Now, I've never been an anti-attorney guy, and I am not giving legal advice. That's not what I'm doing, but I do consult on how to hire the correct attorney. You got to know their billing practices. You got to know how they approach a divorce case. If you know somebody that is going through a divorce or went through a divorce and they recommend them, I strongly recommend that you look into them, because most guys, most women, most anybody for that matter, they're not happy with the attorney that they hire. It's just a fact. So you got to at least interview 3 attorneys.
Hey, Rene.
Sure.
Yeah. How do we determine whether or not we got a good attorney or not?
Number one, you're pretty good if they were referred, but you still have to do your homework. Next is, if your ex was the one that filed first, the good opportunity that you have is that you at least know who's the assigned judge, and you do know opposing counsel. I'm not saying that you should wait for your ex to file first, but it also does benefit you because you get to find out who they are, and you could tailor your your approach to finding a good attorney according to them. Do they know the judge or do they not? If they don't know the judge, that's like a big red flag, not even red. It's like fucking purple. I wouldn't do it. But if they don't know the opposing counsel, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it could be that the opposing counsel doesn't have a lot of family law clients. And so that would be one thing. Find out if they think strategically. Attorneys to me are like 99% tact. If they think strategically, you're in good shape. learn how they communicate, their communication style. That's why when you interview them, you should look into just how much they're expected to. They would say that you're going to be expected to pay in alimony and child support if it comes to that, because at least they'll give you the bottom line, and a few they won't. And it depends. Fuck that. At that point, they lost me. Not because they won't give me an answer, but if that's the way they communicate, I'm not going for it. They should. They're here to help. They're here to give you answers. They're here because they have resources. They need to share their resources with you. You got to find out how often they go to court. It would be another one. If they go to court quite a bit, I don't necessarily say that that's a good thing. It's mostly how many times they settle out of court. That's a better thing. Who does the work for them? Is it the paralegal or who? You hired an attorney to keep peace of mind, not to make you worry any further. You're paying them a shitload of money. So if they're not answering your questions, then you got to think twice if you hired the right one. And quite frankly, a lot of guys feel that way. They're not sure if they did hire the right attorney. That's just a do. The must do's are take care of yourself first, not your kids, but take care of yourself first. Don't say that you're doing it for your kids. You're going to sound like you're leading to obligation. Remember, happy dad, happy Pat kind of thing. Take care of yourself first and everything else will follow. Do a morning routine. Start by saying no more often, because every time that you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, even if it's your me time. Change your passwords. You know, one of the big reasons why we won World War II? Because we broke the German and the Japanese code. That's why. My ex, she broke my code by hacking into my email account. And you know what a disadvantage that was for me and how much more I had to pay in attorney fees. So make sure that you change your password so that she cannot get in there. And these are common infractions. Take care of your valuables and hide them somewhere, because they have a funny way of getting lost when you're going through a divorce. Take them to your friend's place and keep them there. That includes documentation. Next is know your responsibilities and your rights. Now, a lot of guys, they'll have all this money in a commercial account, right? Like Bank of America, Chase, whatever. And how can I put this? It's community property. Usually when you interpret community property, you interpret it as her. It's her money. But you got to change that thinking. Interpret it as being your money. I hope that makes sense. In other words, if you have all this money in your checking or your savings, use discretion, but spend it on something that's going to benefit you, like an attorney. Yeah, you could use it for that. Me as a coach. Yeah, you could use it for that. If you spend it on something to better yourself, the courts actually appreciate it, because they'll ask, where did this money go? And you could say that it went to a divorce coach. They're actually appreciate it. Your wife, she's probably been saying that you need therapy anyways. You listened. Think of it as being half off, but seriously use discretion. Don't wipe out a $10,000 account, leaving the necessary bills alone. I had a client who did cosmetic surgery with a chunk of the bank account. Also, about your rights and responsibility, know that having your kids without her permission is not kidnapping. For some reason, we feel that way. And it comes to show as to how little influence we've had on our children at this point. Dating. When I first got single, I went on multiple dating apps and I had so much success that I wanted to start a YouTube channel for it. And that was the beginning of my journey to becoming a coach. I didn't expect to. And in the end, I all the knowledge, I have a shitload of knowledge when it comes to dating, but I didn't want to be that guy, the get laid guy. I say as soon as you file, with certain caveats, but as soon as you file, you're okay to start dating. And why wait till you file with attorneys and for divorce? Because nobody's going to want to go out with a guy who hasn't filed. That's just, it's not going to happen. No, so there are certain caveats to that. Like if you're in the military, you have to wait till the divorce is done and over with, or it's state dependent. But a lot of states, they tend to look the other way when it comes to filing and dating while still the divorce process is going on. They just look the other way. But if you ask your attorney, they're going to play by the book and say the legal jargon for whatever. And again, it's state dependent. But wait till after at least you file. That's about as soon as you should start dating, not until you file. Will dating make things better? It depends. The way it works is there's the quality of life survey that I did. And in men that dated ended up having a better quality of life during their separation. But it also can make it worse, because let's suppose that all of a sudden you're going through a separation and you're dating and it sucks. There's no women that would like you. Guess what? You just confirmed to yourself that your ex was right. And then you're going to get desperate and feel shitty and want her back more than ever. But if you have success in dating, that's one of the key factors actually in a good, strong recovery. If you have success in dating, chances are that you're going to recover real quick, real fast. And you're going to be one of the lucky ones that just gets over this process really quick, because you know that you have options there. And that's why I focus so much on it on my coaching program, success in dating and how to and all this. I tell guys, I work with guys all the time and taking the right pictures and so on. Having no luck on online dating. let's get this straight. Females receive about 20 to 30 likes per week versus men who get 1 to 5 likes per week. And if you're part of my group, if you're part of my coaching program, I'll tell you this. I guarantee you that you're going to smash the 5 per week, undoubtedly. It's my specialty. It's not about how good looking you are. It's more about the quality of the pictures and the image that you're presenting. And if you're just going to take a selfie, bam, it's not going to work. There's some nuances that you have to do. How to look at the camera, what you're wearing. Are you wearing glasses? Who's next to you? A whole bunch of things.
Which online dating ones would you suggest, Rene?
It's not a one size fits all. And this is where I go through my one-on-ones with my clients, because it depends on your age, depends on where you live. But I would say stick to reputable ones. Bumble, for instance, that's a great one. But 75% of the women, they don't pay for the service. So they're not getting the notifications if you like them. So you can like and like and like. But guess what? The hotter ones, they're part of the 75% not paying for the service. So you like them, they won't like you back, and you say it sucks, you're not having good luck. The thing is, it's all about the pictures. Then you got Match. That's the most equal 50-50 ratio of men and women. Then you got Hinge. And if you're in a metropolitan area, I'd say overall, they have the best quality women. And Facebook dating is also pretty good.
Are there any apps you would avoid?
I tried a lot of them. Susk. I can't say it. Okay, Cupid, Plenty of Fish, eHarmony. They're just outdated. Stay the fuck away from non-reputable ones. I got into a few and they just suck. You're gonna be cheated out of them. But even Tinder, that's a fine one. Just be careful, because know that you're going to get a lot of attention-seeking women here. A lot of guys undergo performance anxiety during their first encounter after the separation. And that could be for many reasons. It could be because, well, they're anxious. It could be the condom. They're stuck in their head. They mix their ex. They're not present. A whole bunch of reasons. So here's the first thing I'd say. There's always the all-day chemist. That would be a great site to order erectile dysfunction medications. I remember I had a lot of problems with the type of condoms that I was using, and finally came into one that I really liked called Sky with a Y, SKY. They're non-latex, but it helps prevent sexually transmitted disease because they have a patent on some kind of, on the way that they're produced. So they are safe in that respect. And I remember I once told my mom, like I got really close to my parents, as you probably have during your divorce. And I told my mom, I finally found the best condoms. 53% of the guys said that they had some kind of issue maintaining an erection during sex after the divorce or after the separation. Question is, will my relationship change with my kids? Will it be affected? Yeah, absolutely. But for the better. I was at another webinar the other day where a guy that I coached, he was talking about how he wouldn't want it any other way, even if he had the choice to share and live with his ex-wife or live with his wife, to have it that way. He wouldn't have it. There's just more accountability that there is for your kids. And as a dad, you're stepping up, and that's the beauty behind it. Someone earlier on this webinar said something that led me to believe that they're still bitter about their situation with their ex. And I say this with a lot of respect. And my intent here is to help show you, well, to give you a cautionary tale. Whoever handles the divorce better wins. I don't care if it's a person that cheated on their ex. As let's suppose John cheated on his ex-wife and was a 22-year-old chick, and he moves out and leaves his wife with the kids all alone and is happily ever after, or his 22-year-old significant other or girlfriend. And the wife stays really angry. Guess what? The kids are going to want to be near the relationship or the person that handles the breakup better. Things get weird if they're seeing a dad that's really sorry. And that's why it's so important to take care of yourself first, to be happy first. I've even had some parents say that their kids tell them that, Dad, get over it. Now, will the stepdad get in the way? Not usually. It's like an unwritten bro code here where they may fuck your wife, but they won't fuck with your kids. They respect that. So I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't be too worried about stepdad getting in the way. About co-parenting in the blended family. I get a lot of questions from dads asking how they can get their baby mamas to stop or start parenting differently. They want to get involved. Like an example would be stop them from introducing them to their new boyfriend. You can't and you shouldn't. And that's because at the same time, they shouldn't be trying to influence you as a dad. And believe me, your relationship with your kids it's going to get better. It's going to get more real. And you don't want her getting in the way of your parenting style. It's to your best interest. You want to know the best sound I ever heard. And this is when you know you won. A few years after my divorce, I was with their mom, and and my kids, and they were talking back to their mom, and you could see that she was overwhelmed, and I thought it was disrespectful. So I just looked at my kids and I said, don't ever talk that way to your mom. And that's when I knew that I had won as a dad. They respect you more. And that's because we as dad, we see our kids for the adults that they're going to become. Not, and moms, they tend to see their kids for the children that they were, the little kids that they were. Now about blended family, it's the biggest reason for cause for a second divorce. When I got married my second time, blended family, she had 2 kids, I have 2 kids. She ended up, you have to understand, she ended up having the kids 90% of the time. Me, I had mine only 35% of the time. So guess who won the house? Her kids completely overwhelmed my kids when it come down to the house. They each had their separate room. My kids shared. It was just ridiculous. So go in knowing that it's going to be a challenge to you. I called it the great experiment. It was a great experiment and it failed. You want to know the worst son I ever heard? You're not the father. And that didn't come from her kids, but that came from her directly. Here I am, a guy taking care of her kids, overwhelming amount of time, paying their fucking support because he didn't pay shit. And I'm not the father. If you're starting a blended family, go in there knowing that you have to set some barriers. It's hard. It's harder than you think. Do I tell my kids that you're dating? If anyone out there, what do you guys think?
I probably wouldn't tell them if I'm just like casually dating someone or doing things on my weekend, but I probably would tell them if I'm seeing somebody like in a serious, manner, like if there would be the possibility of actually wanting to introduce them to her.
Yeah, most dads will say to wait till they get serious, but I'll tell you what happened with a client of mine just yesterday. During the conversation, I asked if he's told his kids about dating, and he hadn't. So I told him he has to let them know. The sooner the better. And just let them know in a matter of fact way, non-judgmental manner. Just say it like it's no big deal. He tells them in front of me, guys, I'm thinking about going online dating. What do you guys think? I hear off the distance, no, he had his headphones on, by the way. So I just said, dude, you're giving them way too much power. You can't let them decide your dating rituals or not. Tell them that you need to find the right women and you need their help in order for that to happen. And you need the right kind of pictures and you need a wingman. And when they ask you what a wingman is, you explain it to them. It was 2 boys. Explain it to them. So he does. He goes and says that to them. And as soon as he says that, guess what? Both of his kids, both of them said yes, that they wanted to help. Point of the story is to keep an open communication with them. Like I said, your relationship with them is going to get better. Get them involved in your dating process. Have them take pictures. They'll at least learn a new skill. Even if they're not good at it, they'll learn how to start taking pictures, what to look for, and so forth. I tell you this, a red flag for me is a mom that does not tell her kids that they're dating. That just shows me a lot about their communication style and their unwillingness to make sure that they're doing things right. How long will you be going through this bullshit? Turns out that the average divorced male, they have a quality of life of 63. Now, of men that have been separated from 0 to 3 months, their quality of life was 55. So those are the ones that scored the lowest. Now, I took their quality of life at different parts of their journey, and turns out that it took about 2 years for shit to start feeling more normal, from where their quality of life went from one standard deviation of 55 to the other one of 69. So is there something that you can do? Yeah, join my program. Just short, 3 to 6 months, I asked the guys to take a quality of life. Remember, these guys started in a 55 as well. They scored 82 at 3 to 6 months, the quality of life. And why? Is because they have a desire to just move the fuck, get this shit over with. Also, they didn't stonewall. A lot of guys, they stonewall. And I see it all the time in the group. They have a better outlook on life. They try new things, and they truly are focusing on themselves, because none of us really discusses or addresses what they are. And where does this data come from? In case you're interested, data comes from a quality of life survey that I do. It's in the group, and I'll be happy to share the link. Take it. Take this survey. I'ma wake up